I'm gonna unmute.
Dig a miserable student.
It's fine.
All right, so we have a small crowd today, not a big deal at all. I'm gonna pull the chat up for anybody who enters the room. And
I don't know.
so they'll be right here. You're right here. And yeah, these are just extras. I can take them all and put them right there.
That's past classes.
Yesterday's. This is for you.
Okay.
And here we go.
And you can see the TV, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at you with a one-on-one action.
One-on-one.
This is exciting.
She was my bullfrog.
You're in great hands, let me tell you. Nobody better. Oh, she's gonna tell you what's up. I love it.
This is, so I will be honest, this is all new material for me, so we're just gonna kind of wing it. So we are on Win the Buyer and, okay. Welcome. Okay, no, seriously, Jordan, you know, the TCPA compliant, make your calls compliant. Okay. Fair housing, this is all in your material, I believe. Okay, so, this is the only session you've been to, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, this will probably be a really good session for you, because I know you have one listing, right? And you have one buyer
Yeah,
so
they're
far?
closing next week.
Awesome. Okay, so do you want to work with buyers more than sellers? What do you?
I like buyers more than sellers.
Okay,
Just for the feels.
okay, yeah, because it's like you accomplish something, help somebody accomplish their dream and.
Yeah.
Okay, so buyers are, I started off as a buyer's agent on a team here in the Market Center in 2015. And I did not have any other really kind of experience in real estate except for photographing houses. That's how I made the transition into real estate. And I always wanted to be in real estate since I graduated college, and it took me 20 years to get there. And that's a long story for another day. So when I was photographing houses for an agent and at KW here, and the company I was working for, they sold, and I started seeing red flags, like things that were as the owner was transitioning out, because it was locally owned, as the owner was transitioning out, the changes that they were making, this didn't make sense to me, and they were kind of red flaggish. Like, my new boss was the woman that they had tapped to be my new boss was my brother's soon to be ex-wife. So it wasn't good. It just wasn't, like, it was very toxic. It was becoming toxic. So I approached the agent I was photographing homes with and said, I want to be a real estate agent. And I said, I want to be on your team. And he says, you don't know me. He's like, I'm very difficult to work with. And I'm like, no, but I want to be in real estate. So, and I want to work on your team. So I went, it took me 6 months. I did self-study. So I was raising 2 babies, had a husband, still have a husband, working in the full-time job, photographing homes. And it seems like I was photographing weddings maybe at the same time. So I was doing multiple, like 3 jobs at a time. So it took me 6 months to get my real estate class done. And when I did get it done, then I took the test and missed it by like 2 points. Had to study over Labor Day weekend, and I retook the test and on the next Monday or Tuesday, whatever the next, Tuesday or Wednesday, I guess, next time I could take it, and I passed. So, and then I hit the ground running. And buyers, in my opinion, working with buyers seems to be an easy way into real estate for a new agent, because it's exciting. It's a lot of work, but it's exciting. There's always buyers. Sellers are harder because you have to, in my opinion, work on the confidence. Like, you can fake it till you make it with a buyer, because you have people all the way around you and supporting you from the backside. But when you're working with sellers, you have to know your numbers, you have to be confident in your comparable market analysis, all the things, right? And with buyers, you can just kind of fake it. Like, the first time I wrote an offer on a house, I was shaking and I was sweating like so bad. And I missed so many things on the offer. And they signed it, and I was like, okay, great, I'm gonna submit the offer. No, I took it back to my basically accountability partner. It was a an assistant on the team, and I said, what did I miss? And she walked me all the way through it. And just like, I missed some check boxes. It was nothing major with the offer, but I had something check the contract before I submitted it. So there's always that, you know, you can always have people look at your contracts before you submit it to a client, or have somebody look at it before you submit the contract to the listing agent. And then that way you can make sure you have everything in the way it should be. So today we're in the transaction, we're winning the buyer, we're gonna win the buyer. So let's see. If we're on page, I don't know, this page. Have a page like that, maybe not, you're good, just stay right there. So some of this may not apply to you because you haven't been at all these classes. Like have you done a value proposition? Have you created that? Okay, so you can go back and watch all these recordings, or all these classes are recorded. So you can go back and watch all the previous classes at your own time. They're on the internet. So I would go back and watch them, and it can help you like create your value proposition. So lead generation and follow-up is how you got where you are today. So focusing on the buyer consultation and agreement. So there's a briefly cover the agenda for the day. We're just gonna talk about buyers, getting the appointment, preparing the buyer consultation, preparing for the buyer consultation, conducting the buyer consultation, getting assigned a buyer agreement, recap and ahas, and daily success systems. I know a lot of people are, let me see. Okay, so let's see. The quote says, right approach to close for a meeting is the only approach, just ask for it, very color. And it's true. Like literally when you're with buyers, or you're doing a buyer consultation, and you'll get to a point where there's really nothing left to say. You've discussed everything, you've covered every thing that they may want in a home, and then it's kind of like this awkward silence. That's when you need to say, all right, I'm ready. I think we should work together. I would love to help you find your home, your first home, your dream home, your whatever home. I would love to help you find your next home or your home. And I would love to work with you. And all you have to say is super easy. And it's super scary because all I have to say is, would you like to work with me? And that can be scary though, because you're putting yourself out there. You're being completely transparent and vulnerable. I want to work with you. I think we're a good fit. Would you like to work with me? And they're not going to say no, you know?
Yeah.
And the only time that they aren't going to say no, they may say, well, you know what, we still need to get a few of our ducks in a row, and we will call you.
Yeah.
So you just do it. Just ask for it. Let's work together. You know, super easy closes. I know on the next one of these next pages, it's going to talk about the closing or the closes. So, let's see. Okay, so we're going to talk about A buyers. And do you know what an A buyer is?
Somebody who's ready to buy right now.
Yeah, so we're actually, I'm gonna write, maybe make notes on this. So there's A buyers, there's three types of buyers. A buyers, A, B, and C buyers. I don't know if people can see it. These are the people that are gonna transact in the next 0 to 30 days. These pens are bad. And your B buyers are buyers that are going to transact in the next 31 to 90 days. And your C buyers are the people who are going to transact in the next 91 into the future days. And are you using Command?
Yes.
Okay, so when you go into Command and you can create tags, so you put in your new buyers, and you put in all their information, name, address, email, phone numbers, their social media accounts, you cross populate with the husband and the wife if they're married, or the spouse if they're married. Then you can create a tag that says A buyers and put that as one color, and then create another tag that says B buyers and make that another color, create a tag that says C buyers. And the reason why you want to label them like this is so that is so you know when to follow up with them.
Mhm.
Okay, so A buyers, and I know in the paperwork it says that A buyers are 10 to 14 days. This was written during COVID. This was revised during the pandemic. So it was probably 10 to 14 days during the pandemic, but now it's back to about 30 days.
Yeah.
So that you want to look out for 30 days. So A buyers, you're going to contact them every day. Call, text, email, one of the three every single day. B buyers is once a week. And you can create the day that you want to set up B buyers. It could be Mondays. Or Fridays. So like, hey, I know we're going into the weekend and there's some awesome open houses. Here's a list of the open houses.
Yeah.
And send them a link to all the open houses. C buyers, once a month. Because what happens is you're gonna get your A buyers under contract. And then now they're no longer A buyers, and then your B buyers are going to become A buyers. And your C buyers are gonna become B buyers, and then you're gonna continually feed all three of these all three. These are like a little machine, they just chug along. So you could go to open house and you're hosting open house and you have people that sign in and you follow up with them and say, hey, hi, I just met you at the open house, Mr. and Mrs. And I wanted to just visit with you about the open house, get their feedback from the open house. What do you think of the open house? What do you think of the price? You know, have a reason to call them back and find out when they want to transact. And, you know, like, well, what's your time frame for moving? And they're gonna say, oh, well, our rent is gonna go up when we renew in 2 months. So we're really looking pretty quick. Well, they're gonna be a B buyer, but they aren't gonna be a B buyer for very long. They're gonna go into an A buyer because really in 2 months right now, you know, you can have them show them property for 2 weeks, have them under contract at the end of 2 weeks, and then they'll close in 30 to 45 days. They're really, you know, even though they're looking to close in this time frame, they could really be an A buyer.
Yeah.
But I just mark it up as a B buyer, and then when you start looking at them, looking at properties with them, then become an A buyer. So your lead generation activities are going to feed the A, B, and C buyers, and they're always going to continue to move. And there are times when a C buyer, they've said, oh, we're not going to transact for 6 months. They overnight, they become an A buyer. They skip B buyer all the way. So contact them every day, call, text, or an email. A B buyer is once a week, and you can do Fridays and Mondays, and you could probably do it both ways. Just say, here's a list of open houses that match your criteria. And then on Monday, hey, did you guys happen to stop by any of those open houses I sent you? And it's continuing the conversation.
Yeah.
And then C buyers, I would just send them, you can send them emails or text messages with market updates, or, hey, I just want to reach out to you. I know we haven't talked in 3 weeks, but I want to see where you guys are at. Have you seen anything come on or off the market that piques your interest? You know, so just continue the conversation and set your database up this way: A buyers, B buyers, and C buyers. Super easy. And you know now you know who to call and when to call them, right? Okay, so and then also, well, it says A qualified buyers. Qualified buyers is somebody that's been through the pre-approval process, and a lot of times they don't have any idea who to use for a lender, so you get to help them pick a lender. So apparently you've seen this graphic a lot. It's called the lead generation and database model from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. What did you do to get an A qualified buyer? That's a question for you.
For me,
Yeah, what do you do to get an A buyer?
what do I do, or what are just my ideas?
What do you do? What should you be doing to get an A buyer?
So just any kind of lead generation. My last couple buyers one was Facebook and the other one was a referral, so.
Yep, lead generation and lead follow-up. Then an A qualified buyer, I know that I'm gonna go over this again, we kind of went over it already, but the material says it's a buyer who's able, ready, and willing. I like to say ready, willing, and able to do business in the next 10 to 14 days. That is not where we're at in our market, so I would say up to 30 days. And then following up with the buyer is just have to follow up with them pretty regularly. Daily, you take daily action, bringing value to that lead until you get an appointment to present them with your value proposition and what it means for them. So really the goal of is to get in front of the A buyer and have a strategy session or a buyer consultation with them and help, so you can define what they're looking for in a house. Okay. So 7-step buyer service cycle, and this is in your participant guide. Cover the buyer service cycle. Okay. Compare it with what's been covered so far tonight. So leads to appointments. So you have to have leads to be able to get appointments. And the more leads you get, the more appointments you're going to get. Right now, I think the average is one appointment for every 10 to 12 leads. So let's go to the extreme. Let's say for every 12 leads, you get one appointment. And you need to follow up with those leads. It can take a buyer lead, even if they aren't responding to you, they will at some point. They're gonna tell you to stop, or they're gonna say, yeah, let's go. Let's get this going. And then prepare for the buyer consultation. And then today you can think of things you'd want to ask during a buyer's consultation. I think that there is a buyer consultation form somewhere floating around. I'll look for it. I think I have one. I'll look for it and I can send it to you. If not, you just need to create a list of commonly asked questions that you need to be asking the buyers. Like, are you pre-approved? No, great. Have you thought about getting pre-approved? Okay, you don't have it. So here's my lenders. If they say, yes, I am pre-approved. Well, why is it? How did you choose that lender? Especially if it's an online lender. How'd you choose that lender? Oh, we were just watching TV one night and we saw the ad. That's great. They're great. Don't ever be disparaging with who they've chosen, but give them the option of using a local lender. Things I say is like, I've heard that XYZ company is a great company to work with on a mortgage. I've also heard their fees are a lot higher than some of our local providers here. Would it be okay if I connected you with a local lender?
Yeah.
And they say yes. Then I say, well, here, I'm gonna actually send you to 3. I'm gonna give you 3 names. Call each one of them and have a 10 to 15-minute conversation with them. This is the largest financial purchase you have made to date and could be the largest of your life. And I want you to be very comfortable with the lender you're working with, because they're going to be digging into your financial statements and your financials. So you have to be comfortable with them. And not everybody is a fit for this lender or that lender or whatever. You want to give them the opportunity to find the one that fits for them. And a lot of times it's the first one on the list. They want to own a house. So vet your lenders, have a good relationship with your lenders. And I always call and tell my lender, I said, hey, I've given your name to so-and-so, and they're going to be calling. If you haven't heard from them in 24 hours, let me know. And then there are times when I will ask the buyers, is it okay if I give your name and phone number to the lender? They'll reach out to you and they'll say yes. I've also had to start adding into the conversation. I don't know what happened. The lights just went off.
I think it's just.
I know,
the
I'm just
motion.
gonna.
I think it's just the motion sensor. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's just the motion sensor.
That I'll say, when you call the lender, you have to leave them a message, because they get many phone calls every single day. And if you don't leave a message, they're just going to see a random number that popped up and they're going to think it's spam. So you can either call and leave them a voicemail, which I know we don't do that a lot these days, but you can call and leave them a voicemail, or you can call, and if they don't answer, shoot them a text message that says, hey, and I literally tell them, Elise Ellis gave me your name and phone number. I'm looking at buying a home, and she referred you to me as a preferred lender. So, and they will do that, but you have to tell the buyers what to do, because they have no idea, especially if they're first time home buyers, or if they're people that haven't bought or sold in the last 10 years. So, but really with the young first time home buyers, you have to tell them what to do and what to say. And then I generally give them 24 hours and I follow up with them. Hey, did you reach out to any of the lenders I sent you? And they'll say, yeah, we've talked to so-and-so, and that one, we're good to go. So, by that point, sometimes by that point, the lender will have reached out to me, hey, I've got so-and-so pre-approved, and then I get to call them. I'm like, hey, I just heard from the lender, you guys are pre-approved. How exciting. Let's sit down and really discuss what you're looking for in a home. And then we get into the strategy session. So, we go 3 questions deep, like, Jordan, I hear that you, are looking to purchase your first home. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So tell me what you're looking for in a home.
Really just like a starter home, first property. That way, when we want to move on, we can, get our dream home. So something affordable in our budget in Rogersville.
Okay,
That's-
Rogersville. That's great. Why is Rogersville important to you?
Cause my daughter goes to Rogersville School and I would just like to keep the consistency.
Okay, so you have a child in school in Rogersville School District. Great. Now let me ask you this. When you say a starter home, what is a starter home to you?
Something, well, I don't want a lot of work.
Okay,
Um,
move-in ready.
move-in ready, at least livable. It doesn't have to be pretty,
Okay.
but livable for us. So no major repairs.
Okay.
And, something to just think 5 years, live in for 5 years.
How many people will be living in the home with you?
Myself, my husband, my daughter.
So are we looking at 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms?
I would love a 3-bedroom.
Okay,
But we'll settle for a 2-bedroom.
okay. So, tell me why a 3-bedroom is important to you.
I would like a home office.
Okay,
But I don't have to have one, but I would really like one.
so are you working flex where you can go into the office and, work from home?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's good. So you'd like to have a home office. Also, what else about a home? What else is important to you to have in a home? Features that is.
A backyard.
Okay,
We have dogs.
okay, so you need a fence.
Mhm.
Okay. What else?
I would really like it to be energy efficient.
Okay.
I know, like, if we're looking at cheaper things, maybe like we need windows, maybe they need these sort of things. But, yeah, so if we could like look at utility reports and stuff and just make sure that nothing crazy is going on, like a $300 gas bill or something, that would be
Okay.
great.
How many bathrooms?
I would really like 2, but I will settle on 1.
2, but 1 if necessary.
Yeah.
Or if that's the only option. Okay. What about a garage? Is a garage important to you?
No,
But it would just be a bonus if there was a
yeah,
garage.
at least 2 parking spaces.
2 parking
I would like
spaces.
to not park in the street if we don't have to.
Okay, we don't find a lot of that in Rogersville right now. Now if it was like Springfield, there might be some street parking, but thankfully Rogersville doesn't have a lot of street parking. So, and fireplace, how about a fireplace?
I would adore a fireplace.
Does it matter if it's wood burning or gas?
I would adore a working wood burning fireplace, but if it's a gas one, that'd be.
Why is a wood burning fireplace important? Tell me more about that.
I
Should not use the word why. Don't use the word why.
I really like classic things that just feel old and cozy
Yeah.
and classic.
Okay.
So those features in a home, if you see that,
Okay,
would just make me go crazy. I
Okay.
love that.
okay. Hi, come on in. So we're just role playing a little bit. I'm kind of giving her an idea what a buyer's consultation is, how I do it. So just hop in and do you want some, Shannon took the paper.
I got everything.
Okay, Jordan, does it matter what kind of flooring is in the house? Carpet, I know you have dogs, so is carpet a big deal or?
Where we live now has carpet and I really don't enjoy that, so hardwood floors or even if it has to be tile or
Okay.
something, that would be fine.
But what about carpet in the bedrooms? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would probably be fine.
Okay. But majority of the house, you would prefer to maybe like flexi vinyl plank or
Yeah,
hardwood floors?
Yeah,
but-
something
Okay,
like-
something along those lines. What if we found a property that checks all your boxes for you and it did have carpet throughout the house? Would that be a deal breaker?
no. it
Okay.
wouldn't.
That's something that can always be changed.
Yeah.
Okay. On your, tolerance for move-in ready,
Mhm.
what would you be willing to do a little paint?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
but just no major remodel.
Yes.
Okay. perfect. So does that kind of, it's like I keep going, this another layer,
Yeah,
another layer and another layer and another layer deep. You get really specific with them so that when you go and you're starting to pull properties for them, you can pull 4 to 6 properties that check mark 99% of their boxes. Because as you guys know, there's no such thing as really as 100% home.
yeah.
There's not. There's always gonna be, people will think that even if they build a home, it's gonna be 100% home. But after having lived in it for a couple of years, there's gonna be something that they're gonna wanna change,
Yeah,
right? So I always tell my buyers, like, look, we're gonna do our best to get everything that you want and need in a home. It may not always be 100%. Because really, truly, there's not going to be 100% home. It'll be like a 95, 97, 98% home. We're gonna get as close to that 100% home as possible, okay? And it may be the thing that's not the 100%, it may be the wall color.
Yeah.
But it's like I verified with you, are you willing to change the paint? If
Yeah.
everything else, all the other boxes are checked, and the paint is the only thing holding you back, would you be willing to paint the home? Or have the home painted, right?
Yeah,
So yes, you would. So, and most people, when you put it to them that way, yes, they would. And also by going through a pretty specific buyer's consultation or strategy session with buyers, you're not going to, I'm sorry to back up. When they send you a home that does not fit what they have told you on paper that fits, you have the ability and the confidence to say, Mrs. Buyer, you told me that you wanted no less than 2,200 square feet in our strategy consultation. Do you remember that conversation? Yes, I do. This house that you sent me is 1,300 square feet. Do you think that this house is going to fit your needs? No, it's not. It's not gonna fit my needs. So what happens then? You don't show the house.
Yeah.
You have in black and white with all the emotion taken out that house does not fit their needs. And you can say, I'm not gonna show you that house.
yeah,
And when you can get to that point in your career as an agent, to have the confidence and the knowledge going in just by looking at the pictures that house is not gonna fit them,
Mhm.
then you're not gonna waste your time and you're not gonna waste their time anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I've done it. And when and you do it nicely, you don't have to be mean about it. If that house doesn't fit your needs, why are we even looking at that house? That's not what it's about. It's more about just, hey, look, this is what you told me what you needed. Why are we looking at that?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll say, well, I just like the way it looks. Oh, okay. So you like the decor and the aesthetic feel of the house. That's great. Thank you for letting me know. Now we can either look for a house that fits your needs with those same feels, or you can use that as a dream board or an idea board, and you can incorporate that into your own home.
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay, so where are we? Prepare for the buyer consultation. We talked about the buyer consultation. Find a home, working with buyers and sellers. You all know how to set up people on a search through Flex where it sends to them, right?
I just learned that yesterday.
Okay. And you can also do that from your KW website. Did you all know that too?
Mm.
Yeah, you can do it from your website too. I don't have that right here in front of me, but there is a way to do it. And I'm sure you can just search that up on the interwebs and find it. There's probably a video out there on how to set buyers and sellers up on searches through KW website. Okay. Then when you do find the perfect home, offer and negotiate contract. And
So the KW website, is that our specific website? Is it the KW app that you're setting this up on?
it's like mine is my417homes.kw.com.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, you can set up a search in there.
Okay.
It'll send to people.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so offer and negotiate contract. And then the next step is contract to close. And then step 7 is post-close systems. And I'm gonna forward here real quick and see what the next slide is. Okay, so offer and negotiate contract. So even in the market that we're currently in, which we have an average days on market of 38 to 40, because September was 38 days on market. I feel like October has slowed a little bit more. So as soon as we have the broker metrics come out early next week, we'll have an idea of what the days on market for October have been. So I like to say between 38 and 41 days on market right now. When you're making an offer, need to be educating your buyers and your sellers about the market. And just because we have longer days on market, that does not mean that they can come in with a lowball offer.
Yeah.
Because it's still, there's still emotions connected to it on the seller side. So what I like to do is, before we make an offer, run a quick comparable market analysis through our Flex system. I just do a one-line CMA and I go back 3 months. I don't go back a full year because 3 months is more indicative of what's happening in our market right now. And if you have to go out 6 months, you can. If if you don't find anything in that area in 3 months, you can go back out for 6 months and just make sure that the price is where it should be. You know, what you're offering is reasonable. In my opinion, if it's only been on market 1 or 2 days, you shouldn't be coming off the list price
Yeah,
very much, especially if you're asking for concessions,
yeah.
right? So if it's a $100,000 house, you're asking for $7,000 in concessions, they're netting around 93,000 before commission, compensation and everything, and and the seller's closing costs are paid and taxes are prorated, all that. So you need to educate the buyers about that. So listen.
If the client offers $100,000 to include 7,000 in concessions, is the offer $100,000? That's what would get paid upon? Or is the offer $93,000?
Yeah, it offers 100,000, but the seller's net 93.
Okay,
That makes sense.
what if they would just offer 93,000 and say,
And
hey,
you
seller?
can.
and
Absolutely. In fact, I'm gonna be honest, we
That's
did
the
that.
best way to do it, right? That way, I mean.
If that's the best for your client,
Right.
like if your client
Always
has
the
that,
best for us, but yeah.
if your client has the $7,000 for closing costs in the bank, then that may be the best. It may not be. It may be, if they don't have it, if they're tight and all they have is down payment plus a little bit, then it's best for the.
So if it comes out of the proceeds from the check, from the bank, specifically their lending, they would have to come out of pocket then. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. There's many ways to look at it.
And that's what, negotiating contracts, I'm really looking forward to that part because I've been negotiating boats my whole life almost, right?
It's probably very similar.
But there's obviously similar or different, specific circumstances like just that,
So, okay, let's just go to negotiating contract. Let's just talk about that, right? Because that's part of this right here.
Right.
When I work with my buyers, I do not ask them upfront multiple things. Upfront, I do not say, what's the most you'll offer on this house? Because I don't want to know. I don't want to know upfront. I will ask them, what offer are you comfortable making? And they say, well, what do you think? And then I was like, okay, let's look at this house. This house has been on the market 2 days. It is, in my opinion, my interpretation of the market, it's priced pretty much right on the money. The house next door, down the street or whatever, just sold for this, and this is priced here. It's priced right on the money. Do you have I should not say do you have, I'll say, when you talk to your lender and they gave you a pre-approval letter and they told you you're going to do 3% down conventional financing, did they say that you need to ask for the seller to pay some of your closing costs? I don't know, or yes, or no, whatever the answer is. If the answer is, I don't know, call the lender and find out. If the answer is yes, then you know. If they say no, okay, great. So what you're telling me, from what I'm hearing you say, is that that you have between $5,000 and $7,000 in your bank to pay for your closing costs. Yes. I'm like, great. Now here's another question. You have it in there. I don't want you to spend all of your money because at some point something will happen after you buy a house, just the way it is, and you're going to have a cushion, right? So I think that we should offer this number and ask the seller to pay your closing costs and see what they say, right? And they're like, okay, great, let's do that. So we make the offer. A lot of times they'll counter just on sales price. If it's just slightly off slightly off the ask price, or if it's a little bit more off the ask price, they'll just counter on sales price in order to be able to pay for those seller concessions. I don't know if I'm doing a very good job. So let me do this. I currently have clients and they were pre-approved up to a certain dollar, up to 150,000. And the houses that they kept taking me to were investment properties. So I finally stopped them and I said, what is going on? Why are we looking at these houses that you cannot move into? Like you can't live in this. It has to be fixed before you can live in it.
And they're considering a FHA or some type of HUD type loan, or are they doing a conventional loan?
They were 3% conventional.
Yeah.
So she said, well, we want to keep our sales price as low as possible. I said, okay, but tell me why. Well, we want to keep our sales price as low as possible, so to keep our monthly payment down as low as possible. And I said, wait a minute. And I said, and then what? And she said, and then we have some money in the bank that we're gonna put into the house to fix it up. I said, okay, how much money do you have in the bank? This is the one time I did ask. She's like, we have $10,000 to put towards a house. I said, okay, after the $10,000 that you have to put towards a house, how much money is left in your savings account? She said $6,000. I said, this house has $60,000 worth of work. It has no heat, no air. It's gonna all have to be tuck pointed. All the floor is gonna have to be replaced. The plumbing is bad. And she started crying. Like, this is after multiple days of showing property. And I said, can you please listen to me? And she said, okay. I said, the difference in $110,000 house and the $150,000 house is not $40,000. It's $60,000, because this $150,000 house has already had all the work completed on it. You don't have to do it. It's move-in ready. And the difference in price in monthly payment, approximately, because I ran an approximate mortgage calculator, is $60 a month.
Right.
Okay, so what do you want? Do you want, she's like, well, I thought we could just go in and do some paint and I said, and use all your $6,000? No, you have to have money in the bank. So they made an offer on a house. The house was listed at $159,900. They made a $140,000 offer. They were paying their own closing costs because they had 3% down. And then the lender assured me that the closing costs would fit within their total of $10,000. And the seller came back and countered at $150,000, and we took it. Now, I did not encourage them to make a $140,000 offer on a $160,000 house. The house had been on the market for a long time, and it was owned by an investor, and he was ready to make it move. So it had actually been listed even like in the 170s. And so he'd already taken a pretty good hit, but he'd been on the market for like 100 days or something. So we were able to get that house under contract for them, and they're gonna be happy with it, and they don't have to do any work. I didn't really have to negotiate anything, because not with the sellers. The negotiation was all in with the buyers, because sometimes the buyers don't understand what their thought process is way off than what reality is, right? So they were over here, and I'm here in the middle saying, hello, we need to be looking here at this price point, and to bring them up to it, right? And got them there. And then we made an appropriate offer, or we made an offer and we got it to an appropriate price point on a house. Does that help?
Yes.
So sometimes the negotiation is not necessarily with the seller's agent and the seller, it's with your buyers.
Right.
And getting their mindset turned around.
Right.
To where they can actually see the possibility. Now, I will tell you, there are negotiations that just do not go well between a buyer and a seller, and you can't make things work. I have had agents that we negotiated, went under contract, And then we got to the inspections. And we negotiated inspections and agreed on inspections. And then the appraisal came in low. And they wanted to renegotiate the inspections. I said, no, we've already agreed on that. We're not moving. We're not renegotiating inspections. And then they're like, well, we're not reducing the sales price. I said, well, my people aren't coming up. This is not my problem. You did not do a great job pricing the property or knowing what is going on in that market, that area.
So it appraised for less than what they offered? And so did you have like obviously there's an appraisal contingency, right? Or that would be part of both the financing and appraisal contingency, whatever comes lower, that's what they're financing, right?
Deal fell apart because we couldn't get financing because the seller wouldn't reduce the sales price to meet the appraised value.
Oh. Wow, shame on him.
Yeah, because he wanted to take back some of his agreed upon repairs to save that money so that he could make it possible to reduce the sales price to meet the appraised value. I said, we don't have to have this house, we'll find another one. And we did.
Yeah, it's silly.
It is silly. It's super silly. Negotiations is not, I find that the negotiation up front, the sales price negotiation is not the negotiation that causes people the most frustration. It's the inspection notice negotiation and the when appraisal comes in short negotiation that causes people the most problems. And you just have to, well, for example, I had another one where it was in Ozark, pre-pandemic, $135,000 house. And it was when Ozark was USDA, 100% loan. And the listing agent told me that we were in a multiple offer situation. So we went, they needed closing costs. So we wrote above ask by a couple, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to cover some of the closing costs. And then it didn't appraise. And she said, but she came back and we were literally almost arguing, screaming at each other. I wasn't. She was kind of hoity-toity with me, you know. And she said, but you're the one that went above list price. I said, yeah, only because you told me that there were multiple offers. So now you're telling me that there weren't multiple offers. So this is not on me. This is on you. Your seller needs to reduce the sales price. And you know what else? It's a government loan. This appraisal sticks with the property for 6 months. So we can have the deal fall apart and you're going to have to lose a good majority of your buyers. And you'll go back on the market at cash or conventional. You won't be eligible for FHA or VA or USDA except at the appraised value. And she's like, okay, send it over, we'll sign. So you just have to know the ins and outs. Did you know that the FHA appraisals stick with the property for 6 months?
So you can stick with the property. You can't reevaluate or reappraise the property for 6 months. And somewhere I understood that, especially for investment properties. I know a guy right now who's getting a 50% interest loan on a property right now, but once he has 6 months, I don't know exactly what the term is. Maybe it's 90 days. He has to keep it for 90 days.
90 days.
And then he can refinance that and use the equity from that home or use the equity from that home to refinance it or something like that.
So on an FHA, on a flip, on a house, an investor buys a house that's a flip property, they have to own it for 90 days. They cannot sell it on an FHA or government loan for until the 91st day. It has a season.
Right.
So, yeah, so anyway, you have to know, you have to go to bat for your client. You have to know what buttons to push. I'm a listing agent on one that we went on the market for 3 days, had a contract. We're under contract by day 3, and it fell apart during inspections because the buyer was not willing. The buyer asked, well, first of all, we came off sales price by $7,000. The buyer asked for $7,000 in repairs. My client said, we'll make $4,500 worth of repairs in our crawl space because it's necessary, but we're not going to do these. We'll do some of the other small repairs that were like $200, $250. We're not going to do this. We're not going to rewire the whole house because it's a 2-prong outlet. It's not grounded, and because it was built in the 50s. And so it fell apart. She kept saying, well, you're gonna have to go back on market. And I go, yeah, we'll go back on market and I'll sell it again. That doesn't scare me to go back on market. And we went back on market, didn't have any movement really for the first week, reduced the price by $7,000. And on day 28, which was yesterday, we went under contract yesterday with another buyer. And so I'm bucking the trend still on days on market. I'm still under 38 days, average days on market. I went under contract for a second time in 28 days. Right? So you just have to know, don't let somebody threaten you with going back on market. So yeah, came back on market, get a phone call. Why did it fall through? Well, the buyer and seller couldn't agree on inspection repairs. Oh, okay. So what were the repairs? I have the inspection notice or inspection reports. Would you like to see it? Yeah, great. And oh, by the way, here are the repairs that my seller has made. You know, it's not, it's easy. It's easy to go back on market and resell it, especially when you have two agents that come from a mindset of we're going to work together and you're not my adversary. Negotiations can go really wrong when egos get in the way and you are now no longer, not you, but you in general are no longer working for your client, but you're working to protect your ego. It's horrible. I see it fall apart all the time. You hear about it. And they just get their feathers ruffled. So if you can keep your emotions in check when you're negotiating and just say, here's what we want, take your emotion out of it. It makes it a lot easier. That's part of the reason why I really like doing a lot of business with agents in our own office. You know, because I mean, we all come from a win-win.
Well, it's professional courtesy.
Right, and we come from a
Really
win-win.
is. Sometimes I don't know if all clients are like this, but it seems like every single person I work with is like a nightmare. It's getting so much fun. I'm learning so much about all these different situations coming from financial planning and obviously selling boats. There's a certain process you take people through to make sure they're making the best choices. It has based on your risk tolerance, based on your finances,
Right.
based on what you want, what you're willing to sacrifice, what you're not willing to sacrifice, and come up with a game plan. So I've had clients that, I was so excited to sign her as a buyer's client. She's transferring up from Texas, doesn't even have her house listed, but she wants to go look at houses while she's here in town. She's not even close to being able to make an offer, right? Her current house right now in Texas isn't even listed yet. And we've been working on this for about a month and a half now, almost 2 months since both.
So what's her motive?
So her husband's boyfriend, parents live in Hollister. So she's wanting to find something close to 65 south of Springfield side with acreage, a shop. So, I mean, it's a three-person family, 2 adults and 1 child. And they're persistent about a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath for an office space, and it has to have a shop.
Has she made the trip from Texas to here?
Yes, we've looked at 14 houses in 3 days, 2 of these houses, maybe multiple times. And then after pulling inspections and saying, hey, if this house is completely fixed up, it's about a $425,000 house compared to everything else that's been selling for in this neighborhood comparable. So it's got a little termite damage, it's got a little few things, but they're selling it for $240,000 with 1 acre and 4 outhouses, a 30 by 30 shop with electricity, basement, electric circuit breaker. I mean, it's hitting all the boxes. And I'm letting her know, I was like, hey, even at $125 a square foot for an unfinished shop, you're gonna spend, $115,000 just on building a shop.
And she's not pulling the trigger.
Well, no, she hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, so
After I
you need
sent
to
her,
revisit her motivation.
after I sent her the inspection, she's like, oh, well, we don't want to do too much to it. We need to be moving ready. I'm
So
like,
she's already paid for the inspection?
No,
or was there a
we
previous-
had an inspection that was sent from the listing
Listing
agent.
agent.
And
So what's her timeframe for being here? Let me ask you,
so-
does the boyfriend already live here?
No, the boyfriend, they both live in Texas, Trinity, Texas, outside of Houston. So anyway, so I've been following up with her once a week. Just finding out how her construction on her house is going, because she's fixing her house up to get ready to list down in Texas. I said, that's great. You want to make an offer, but you're gonna have to make an offer with a contingency unless you plan on just having both houses. We're not doing that. We're ready to sell our house. So that's my first goal. I'm not showing him any other houses.
Right.
You know, I'm not I got her on a trickle right now with MLS, kind of showing her some stuff that's coming in the market to get ideas. But until she has that house listed, I can't really do anything.
No,
And even then, being such a big transfer, being down in Texas, I was like, we really need to sell your house first.
Right.
And then have a reverse contingency on it to say, hey, this is what's happening and you gotta give me at least 3 weeks to get on contract on another house. And that way she at least has a place to stay, so that's on hold. I'm following up with her once a week. I had another client, this is my listing right now. He didn't want to sell his house because his daughter has autism. I'm like, yeah, let's not mess up the school system. She's getting a therapy and she might have a shimmer of autism. She has like a full-on conversation with me and stuff like that.
She's
when
on
we're
the
talking.
spectrum,
Right.
mild.
My daughter does too. It's just like that.
So he's afraid so he found an Airbnb in Nixa. And that's one of the concerns is pulling her out of that school system where she's getting the therapy. He's thinking in his head it's going to take a 6 to 8 month process. And I'm like, hey,
No, it's 30
we'll
days.
do a reverse contingency in this one. And then we'll even put in there in the listing that you need 25 days after closing to stay in this property to be able to transition smoothly to your next house, however it works. Doesn't want to move twice. Doesn't want to move during the winter time.
He's not ready.
So we got his house listed. We're gonna do the reverse contingency and then he's gung ho. He's like, we need to find this house now. We took him to a new constructions. We took him to some of his stuff. I know it didn't match his criteria. And I asked him, I was like, hey, you told me 2016 or newer. This house was built in 2004. Why are we looking at this house? Oh, it looked nice. I wanted to see it. No, you're wasting my time.
Yeah.
So
So have you sat down with it? Is
So-
that a strategy session with him?
this gets even better. Ready? All right. So house is listed. We've been on the market now for 3 weeks. I've had an open house there. I've literally door knocked the whole neighborhood and sent them nice letters and thank yous, stuff like that. I think I've done pretty good. We've only had 2 showings on the house. And after looking at all these properties, he says, hey, Torian, I think we're going to rent after we sell this house and save $10,000. That way we can put it towards our next house.
Is he not gonna get any money out of it?
Okay. Yeah, he's getting about 70,000 net out of everything after everything's said and done. And so I said, hey, I get that, you're trying to save some money or put money down towards your next house. And I just scheduled an appointment with him to show him the current and what his options look like if he rents and what if he continues to buy. So at a 3% increase in real estate in the next 6 months, if he's wanting to wait 6 months, he's gonna spend $2,000 a month for 6 months. There's $12,000 right there. Hypothetically, if pricing of houses goes up 3%, he's looking at a $347,000 house. That house is clearly gonna be worth $356,000. So there's another $10,000 right there. But I see you saving 10,000, but I also see you losing 22,000.
So
Because-
it's 12.
Well, if by doing it now rather than waiting later, sure, he may save $10,000. He's still losing,
So what's the real
12.
reason he wants to sell that house?
It's too big. It's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath for him and his daughter. He had his mom living there, had his brother living there. They're not there anymore. He's had to remodel and redo some rooms and whatnot. But it's a 3,352 square foot house for 3 people. He's like, I'm done taking care of it.
So, and he doesn't wanna move twice, but if he rents, he's gonna never move twice.
I told him that. He's like, oh, we're gonna wait 6 to 8 months and take a look at April and May and see what's available. I'm like, okay, so what does that look like? So I texted him, I was like, hey, out of the houses that we looked at, because we've been looking at new houses, one of them was for 356 sales price, and after doing a market analysis on it, it was actually about 347 is where it should be sitting. Like, that's where our offer should be, like, instead of doing all this twice and, so we're actually scheduling an appointment with them next week to, get on a chalkboard and say, hey, here's our current situation. We're going into the house. What happens? What if we stay in this house? What if we just take it off contract and stay in this house? What does it look like if we go and buy a house? And what does it look like if we rent a house? And actually do some numbers in front of them. His girlfriend obviously seems to be a huge decision maker in this process, and girlfriend's sister and mother and everything else. And so we were at this house. He's loving it. He's like, this is it. This is it. My girlfriend's calling her mom and sister. They're coming over right now to check this property out. Great. We might be making an offer here. This is gonna be awesome. Well, mom's like, do you see that big, huge, giant 9-story apartment complex that they're building there on 14 and 65? She's like, I was like, think about the traffic, the crime, and all that stuff's gonna plague this community and stuff like that once that thing opens up. I told him, yeah. I was like, oh, that's great. I was like, so for now on, if mom is part of the decision-making process, sister is part of the decision-making process, I think they need to be here at these showings. He's like, oh, that's not gonna happen. I'm like, well, so whose decision, whose money are we spending here? Is this your money? Because it obviously ain't hers. You value her opinion, but you don't have anything to do with your mother-in-law, a future mother-in-law. Oh, he hates her. I said, who else needs to be part of this? Well, my friend in Florida. I'm gonna run all my decisions past my friend in Florida.
This guy's not a buyer. He's
Yeah.
not a seller. He doesn't know what he wants.
Yeah, and so he's a confused Army person. He's retired, medically discharged. That pops a pill every 15 minutes. It's been a very difficult thing. And so at this point, I'm just ready to sell his house and be done with it. And he was visiting with a agent down in Branson. And he says, oh, he wouldn't take me to any show. He wouldn't show me any houses.
Yeah, I know, because
He
I've got
wouldn't
your
follow
buyer's
up.
agreement.
And he had exclusive buyer's agency agreement with him. And he wouldn't show me houses. And I met him at this open house. He's like, yeah, I've been trying to get my agent to show me this house, and he won't come up from Branson to show me this house. I'm like, oh, interesting. So sent him an RPR report the next day, the following follow-up stuff. He's like, holy cool. He sent me more information in 48 hours than this guy has sent me in his whole tenure with me. I'm like, I want you to do my business. I was like, this is the easiest buyer session I ever did. So I came prepared. He signed his contracts, got everything done that night. And then he's like, I want to find a house first before I sell my house. And, oh, let's just go ahead and sell my house. Oh, we're not gonna look for a house now. We're just gonna rent. I'm like, man, you changed your mind more than
He's a C buyer. Here. So A buyers are gonna transact in 0 to 30 days. B buyers are gonna transact in 31 to 90 days. And C buyers are 91 to the future.
So that's yesterday they told us A buyers are 0 to 14 days.
Yeah, I
B
know.
buyers
Well,
15 to
so,
60, and C
yeah,
buyers-
that's what the paperwork says, but
Okay,
hold
so
on. So Ignite was rewritten during the pandemic. And when buyers were transacting very quickly, we're in a different market. A buyers to me have always been somebody that's gonna transact between 0 and 30 days.
B was B buyers.
31 to 90.
Okay,
And then C buyers are 91 to the future. Sometime in the future.
plus days, okay.
A buyers you contact every day, call, text, email. One of those every single day. B
We'll talk
buyers,
about buyers though, right? So he may be an A seller, like trying to sell his house.
he's an A seller,
quickly,
but he's really kind of like a C buyer until he knows what he wants, in my opinion.
I got him on the MLS right now just to show him houses that are selling in his area that are comparable to his, just kind of keep on what's coming on the market, how much it's for, how long it stays on, but
So he may
I don't
be.
have it on any other triple
These
fine
are
houses.
exactly the same for sellers, A, B, C
Yeah.
sellers, but we're doing with the buyers, so A, B, C buyers. And he could be a C buyer right now because his house isn't under contract. And the minute his house goes under contract, he might become an A buyer.
Okay.
But because his house isn't under contract, he's in limbo. He doesn't know.
Right.
He doesn't know what's gonna happen. So it sounds like he's trying to plan for every contingency. And that's just fear. Trying to plan for every contingency is fear. Just like my buyers I was telling you about that were looking at investment properties. When I finally got them in the house that's been completely rehabbed and they went, you could literally see them go, right? Well, they were then we got to inspections and they started to panic and they wanted multiple inspections, which is fine. They wanted multiple home inspections. Right? They wanted to hire inspector A and inspector B and have them do 2 home inspections so that they could cover every contingency because they're afraid, they feared that something was gonna go wrong with the house. And if we had 2 inspectors look at the property, then they're gonna find different things. And we could ask for all the things. And I said, no, we're not doing that. And here's why. No matter what, no matter how many inspections you have, now general home inspections you have, the possibility of something going wrong is still gonna be there. And here's the example I used. When my husband and I bought our first house here in Springfield, he owned a house in Kansas City. So we had 2 house payments, right? It was on the market. It was 2003. It was on the market 2004. His house in Kansas City was on the market. We bought a house here. We had 2 house payments for a very short period of time until his closed, which was, okay, but we still were broke. Didn't have any money. And because we were in our 20s, and within the first 2 months of owning our house down here, our hot water heater went out. It was $1,000. So no, and we had a home inspection. We had a good home inspection. It was at the time, they're still in business, right? The home inspection is a snapshot of a home on that day. As functioning, everything's functioning on that day, and they aren't seeing anything majorly wrong with the property on that day. That doesn't mean that you aren't gonna blow a gasket in your hot water heater 60 days down the road.
Sure.
And it did. So, and what they said to me is like, we wanna have 2 home inspections because we want to make sure that nothing's gonna happen in the next 6 months. I said, well, that's not, that line of thinking is crazy making. I didn't tell them that, but I was like, well, we're not gonna do that. I just told them, you guys, we're not gonna do that. I know that you're worried about something happening, but that's why we have things like home warranties, right? So we're gonna get them a home warranty.
Yeah, it's really interesting that they were looking at investment properties and then so worried about the inspections.
Yeah.
'Cause
And then we had home inspection, roof inspection, septic inspection, or not septic, sewer scope, and termite and crawl space inspection. We had almost every inspection we could have. We just had 1 home inspection. So, it was just,
So it's,
so winning the
so
buyer is really about.
I said, I want to schedule an appointment next week here at the office. I want to make sure you understand all your options once your home sells. He's like, oh, I got you. I don't think we need a meeting for that. Once it's under contract, I got things lined up from there. I appreciate that though.
Okay, let it go.
All right.
Let it go. Don't fight with them. Don't argue with them. Just let them
I
make,
have so many better things to do besides
Right.
have that
Let that
conversation too,
go.
but
because in 24 hours, it could change.
yeah, that's what Shannon said. She's like, yeah, I'll come back. Wait till his
Yeah,
house
we'll come
sells.
Yeah, once his house is under contract, what's gonna happen is he's gonna to accept the contract. And he's gonna, oh my God, I gotta find a house. So just let it
Even
go.
if he doesn't, you're rid of him.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
And I wouldn't, I don't know if I would
Right.
necessarily get rid of him. Here's what I would do. I would call one of our are you a veteran?
So,
Okay. So he's a VA, right? He's VA.
psychopath, yeah.
Yeah, so call one of our veteran agents, like Carrie Tennis is a vet, Brian Fisher in Stratford, he's a vet. Call one of our military people and refer him to them. I have a buyer, I want to refer you. He's a veteran. I think he'd be a really good fit for you.
Sure.
And oh, by the way, I'll take 25% referral fee. So that's what I would do. It's just refer it off. And tell him, it's like, I I've really enjoyed working with you on the sale of your property. So I've got some things coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm not gonna be able to dedicate all my time to you, and I wanna make sure that your needs are taken care of. So I'm going to refer you to,
And if he's 6 months out, then.
he may not be though.
Right. Sure, got it.
After he gets under contract, he's probably gonna wanna buy.
Okay.
But just refer him to somebody. And I shouldn't have said, apparently, I guess, anyway. So refer him to one of our military agents here in town. So, anyway.
Derailing, sorry.
That's okay. On negotiate contracts, here's another thing I want you guys to think about. You know, sometimes we see on our MLS that sellers will only close at such and such title company. Okay, well, in our contract, you know, there's 4 options of who pays for what under title charges.
That was the last one that we need to, the last.
I mark C,
Yeah.
whatever.
see,
Some people
right.
mark D, some people mark whatever, but there is one where it's basically, I don't have it in front of me, but it's like the seller pays for it all. If the seller in this market that we're coming into now, when properties are more days on market, we're seeing more fall throughs and we're seeing price reductions. If the seller is stipulating what title company they want to close at, that's fine. We'll close at that title company, but you're gonna pay all the title fees. And if they could counter back on that and you could call before you make the offer. Hey, I see that you've stipulated that we close at the ABC title company. Can you tell me why you want to close there? Oh, we just close all of our stuff there. I said, okay, great. Well, we're happy to close there as long as the seller's gonna pay for all of our title work. Pay for it all. And I'm gonna mark that on the contract. You could do it that way. There's been times where I just send it over that way and they don't say anything. They could counter back where the buyer pays for part of it or option C or whatever. And then I usually call and say, hey, we're not gonna do that since you wanna use such and such title company, because that's not the title company that my clients wanna use. Not that I picked, but that's not the title company that my clients want to use. We would rather use XYZ title company and not ABC. So since you wanna use ABC, we'll let the sellers pay. Because it's the buyer's choice. It's not the seller's choice. It's the buyer's choice. It's a little negotiation.
Yeah, there's so much, there's a lot of differences, believe it or not, between selling boats, because I worked off an AFV and gross profit,
Mhm.
which is a little bit different type of margin than looking at all the different caveats and stuff like that. Well, we had inspections, we had, trade-in values, we had timeframes, we had brokered boats, we had all these different things. I hate broker boats. Oh my God, okay. Twice the work and half the pay, not even half the pay. Okay, I have a specific scenario. Maybe I'll drop past you after
Okay.
we've got past this. I don't want to derail us here.
Contract to close. Are you guys doing your own contract to close?
No,
Using Onward.
Perfect. I was gonna say, find a transaction coordinator.
So-
Because you will you'll get just drowning in paperwork and all the changes and things you need to make, and it's just easier to hire a transaction coordinator, and your time is worth, what is it, $250, $350? I don't know what they charge.
they charge $250 and it's worth every dollar.
It is absolutely worth every penny.
So I charge $350 for my buyers and $395 for my sellers.
I don't charge a transaction fee, but we can't really talk about that either.
It's in the,
I don't think we're supposed to talk about compensation.
we're not talking about
No,
compensation.
those things, I mean, Shannon talks about that.
Oh,
The
no.
transaction fees? Okay, I don't know.
It's, I
You just
think-
can't say,
I'm just trying to be really careful.
you just can't say this, like a specific percentage,
Percentage.
which Shanna does, but she says like a different one than what one might think is standard.
Right. So, if you guys, I think it's great if you want to charge transaction fees, that's great. I just don't do it.
And overcharge, if it's going to be weird, if it's a wish-washy deal, I'll go back and amend and put a retainer fee in there for pictures and stuff like that. They're just gonna be weird about it.
Post-close systems, what do you guys think about what do you think a post-close system is?
I don't know what that is. I imagine it's just.
Yeah, so a post-close system is like going into your Google Calendar and putting an anniversary reminder a year out. And so that you can send them an anniversary postcard or a thank you card, or make a post on social media if you're friends with them on social media, something like that. That's one of the post-close systems. Having a reminder in there of when to close out your Flex, close out the listing in Flex. Because we have 4 days to do that. And then there's a penalty. What are some other post-close systems that you all have heard about.
So I have a survey completed, ChatGPT is so freaking awesome. It asks for their anniversary, their favorite candy
Yeah.
bar, their favorite drink,
Yeah,
their
birthdays.
birthdays, relatives
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Kids'
and
birthdays.
Kids' birthdays and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That way I can be top of mind if there's their birthday, dropping off a coffee at work for them or
Yeah,
doing something special for the kids.
just things to
or-
stay top of mind with
That's
them.
correct. And setting up a specific quarterly CMA presentation for them so they understand the market value of their house every quarter.
So there's all that, put them on a drip system, within Command on Smart Plans. Make sure that they're on your newsletter, email, your email newsletter. If you do events, make sure that they're on the invite for events, like if you do an appreciation, customer appreciation, or if you hand out pies at Thanksgiving or rolls or whatever you do, if you do any of that, make sure that they're on that. Just, you got it. I mean, it's just staying in contact with them after the transaction and not just the first year, it's multiple years. Now, I will tell you, there is a company called the Personal Marketing Company. And for like, I don't know, $25 to $35, they will put them on a drip system for 5 years. And it's pretty amazing, in my
What is it
opinion.
called? Personal what?
The Personal Marketing Company, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, Personal Marketing Company, PPMCO, and they're out of Kansas, so I kind of feel like they're a little local, kind of locally owned.
Right.
Or, local company. It's not China or anything like that. It's here.
So as we're putting people into command and we're identifying them as a 1, 2, or 3. Someone that's further away from our circle, someone that we know, maybe not know well, and then the people that we cherish or inner circle. We also need to be able to identify what type of buyer or seller they are between A, B, and C. So in October, I meet somebody that's an A buyer, maybe it's a C buyer, right? And I'm trying to specifically go in and say, hey, who are all my A buyers right now within Command? I need to talk to them. I got a banging deal coming up. How do I distinguish their time frame specifically by tagging them? Or is there a way, it's an opportunity.
I don't put them in opportunity. Literally tag them A buyer, B buyer, C buyer.
But if it's October and you got a bunch of C buyers and you get into March next year and stuff like that, how do you know exactly that they're?
Because if they're a C buyer, it's October and they're a C buyer, you're contacting them once a month, minimum, right? Contacting them once. So A buyers, you contact every day, either a call, a text, or an email.
B buyer.
B buyer, you contact once a week. And when I was talking with Jordan, it could be even twice a week. For example, a great way with a B buyer is that you pull a list of open houses that are that meet the criteria of what they're looking for and text it over to them. Hey, I was just thinking about you today. Here's a list of all the open houses that meet what your criteria or might meet your criteria, whatever. Send it to them on Thursday or Friday. And then on Monday, follow up with them. Hey, just checking in. Did you happen to make it by any of those open houses? I really like 123 Main Street for you. What'd you think? Super easy. So could be once or twice a week. C buyers is once a month. So what happens is the A buyers, they're gonna go under contract. And then as you're communicating with B buyers, they're gonna eventually move to be an A buyer, and a C buyer will eventually move to be a B buyer. Sometimes a C buyer moves to be an A buyer. They skip B all the way.
They've been waiting for a while, right?
Because they've been waiting, and actually they've been watching. They're looking and they're educating themselves on the market, whether it's through the online companies or through the emails that you're sending them or your website, but sometimes they say, really, what I found is that they say they're 6 months out, but in reality, they're 3 months out. Or they say they're 3 months out, in reality, they're 6 weeks out. Because something happens, or they just start seeing a lot of things that they like on the market, so then they're like, well, maybe we can make this happen, this is what I want, and then they see one that pops up, and it's the one that they like, you go show it, and now they're gone from a C buyer to an A buyer overnight. The trick is the lead follow-up, staying in contact with them.
Yeah.
And I need to be better about it, I'm gonna be honest, haven't had to do that a lot lately.
And, yeah, that's I've done a very valiant job of knocking out my to-do list. I'm really good at making to-do lists, but also one of them is creating a spreadsheet to identify, my spheres of influence and what type of sphere of influence they are, 3, 2, or 1. But then I also need to.
What do you mean by 3, 2, or 1? I don't know what that means.
1 is my direct circle. I know their birthdays. We're talking to each other all the time. 2s are people that I know, and maybe in passing, we know of each other. We know of our character. We have trust built, but it's not just like my best friend, Caden. You know what I'm saying? Like we see each other, but we're not like ones. And then 3s are people that maybe I associate with on the streets or networking, or see them playing pool here and there, or, I've known for, years, we just don't stay close or something like that.
So let me, where did you come up with 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3?
That would have been in our generating leads with.
So it's an Ignite? Okay,
yeah.
so if we're talking the same thing. So in the MREA, Gary Keller says that there's three circles. There's this big circle,
Small circle.
and this circle right here is your not Mets, people you don't know.
Right.
This circle right here are your Mets, and this circle right here is your allied resources.
Right.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that what are your 1s? People you don't know?
My family, my best friends, my colleagues in Sertoma that know.
So your allied
that know me.
resources.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then your Mets are your 2 and your not Mets are your 3. So it's basically the same.
Right,
We're talking
yes.
the same thing.
Yes, exactly.
But I just want to make sure that, because I go off of the allied resources, the Mets and the not Mets. Because it's just old school. That's how I learned. So yeah, make sure we're just talking the same language.
So I had a buyer's meeting with a client the other day. It was last week. He's making an offer on a house that meets absolutely none of his needs. The only need that it meant was his location, because it's next to his parents in River Cut. It's a foreclosed home that's getting sold by a bank out of California. They're listing it for $600,000. He offered $365,000. They took his offer until noon and never retorted, never countered, but told the gentleman that they're taking it off the market and putting it up on an auction online.
So they can get more money for it.
And they're gonna start offering it at $10,000 above his offer price, $375,000. I was like, why did they just counter you at $375,000?
Because they think they can get more.
Correct.
And they will.
And he needs a 40 by 60 foot shop for his Hummers. He has 60 bicycles, MGs, all kinds of other stuff. He wants property, he wants land. He wants to be 15 minutes away from Scenic and Battlefield, because that's where he works. His wife works from home. I asked him at the open house, like, is there anybody else need to make, part of this decision-making process? He's like, nah, my wife's gonna go with whatever I pick out. Okay, yeah, so I showed him properties in Willard that were gonna work. Oh, she said, we're not gonna go to Willard. I was like, oh, so she is part of this then, right? And so we found a bunch of really nice properties in the 650, 550 range with acreage and a shop and or a place to put a shop. And so he spoke, he went and visited a property sold by the Property Gurus. Because they're the listing agent, they didn't have to have him on our exclusive agency. And it's a horse ranch out in Nixa. You may know of it. He says it smells like kitty turds and horse shit in the whole house. I'm like, oh boy, this should be fun. So that's his dream house. That's what he wants. And I asked him, I was like, hey, you know, this house in Rivercut doesn't have a shop. I mean, that's one of the big things that you were looking for. He's like, well, yeah, if I get a good deal on this though, I can go buy some property and put a shop somewhere. I'm actually looking for some property offered by the city of Springfield. And I just gotta make sure it's zoned the right way, because when I build this shop, they'll think I'm doing light industrial in there because of how big this shop's gonna be. Like, okay, so he's waiting till, you know, today at 5 is when the auction's over to find out exactly what happened. And he's like, I'm not gonna make an offer on this house. I'm like, what? What if you're the biggest offer? Like, what? Just offer the 370. He's like, I'm not trying to promote it to where it keeps going up. I'm like, they took it off the market. How are you gonna purchase this? So a lot of things I don't yet understand about this whole process, especially how the city of Springfield can just sell property. They don't have to list it, I guess. I mean, you don't have to list anything. You just sell whatever you want,
I
right?
feel like,
I don't know. That's not mine. You have some crazy buyers, but Linda.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
you gotta be a lot more unattached to the outcomes.
Yep.
Cause I mean, ultimately it's their lives and their decisions and they're the puppet masters of it. You're just here. Like at the end of the day.
Sure,
you know,
I'm
but-
sure I'm here to help. You know, he wants to be moved in by December 1st. His 5-year-old daughter and wife are still living in Paducah, Kentucky, while he's out here in Springfield working and managing this factory or plant. And I'm just like, well, I guess I'll follow up with you Monday. We'll see how that auction goes. And if it works out, I'll continue looking for you.
Okay, so converting A buyers, obviously you respond to your leads pretty quickly, right away. Get valid and complete contact information. So what is that? What is valid and complete? Names, phone numbers, emails, and
Yeah.
physical address. Determine their motivation. How do you determine their motivation? Right?
You asked when they need to be moved by.
Okay, so I'm gonna just role play it with you, Jordan. So Jordan, talk to me about, you're wanting to buy your first home.
Mhm.
Okay. So are you currently renting?
Yes.
All right, when is your lease up?
I'm on a month.
You're on month. Perfect, that's great. So really, in all reality, what you have to do is, when we find the right perfect house for you, you need to tell your landlord that you're moving out in 30 days. Okay, make sure that you give them 30 days notice. And so tell me why you're wanting to buy a home.
I'm sick of throwing my money away on rent. I'd like to start building my wealth and become a grown up.
Okay, become a grown up. That's awesome. All right, so you could move in at any time. So anytime in the next 30 to 60 days, you're ready to leave the rental world. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And is sooner better than later?
Yes, I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay, so have you been pre-approved?
Yes.
Okay, what local bank? Just the ABC. What local bank, what lender are you working with?
A bank.
Okay, perfect. They're great. Are you working with Mr. Lender over there?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, yeah.
He's great. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So sounds like we can move pretty quickly, right? And here's the deal. I want to move at your speed. So if I'm moving too quickly for you, you need to tell me, hey, we're going a little too fast. So I want to move at your speed. But from what you're telling me is that you're ready to go. You're
Yeah.
ready to be out of that apartment and into your own property.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to be able to put my Christmas tree up.
Okay, perfect. So let's go. Okay, Torian, I'll role play with you. So Torian, tell me why you're wanting to buy a home. Just kidding, just.
I'm tired of putting my money in other people's pockets, and I see the investment opportunity in investing in my own property.
Okay, perfect. So are you on a lease?
No, I own my home.
You're month to month?
No, I own my home. Yeah, sure, I'm on the month.
You're month to month, okay, perfect. So, you need to give them probably 30 to 60 days notice?
Yeah, 30 days.
30 days. Does your landlord, have you lived there a long time?
Yeah, 2 years.
So they'd be okay, they aren't gonna be upset.
No, I've kept good care of the house, so they shouldn't have to do much to
To turn it for the next.
turn it over for the
okay,
next person.
perfect.
Yeah.
So, what I'm hearing you say is that you're tired of renting, you're tired of paying somebody else's mortgage, that you would like to be in your own home in the next 30 to 60 days? Okay. And, I just lost my train of thought, but so basically, you're motivated, you're ready to go, correct?
Sure.
Have you visited with a lender about how much home you can afford?
I've looked at my credit score and, I feel I'm pretty close to, being where I need to be.
Right.
But, I want to look into a few places and find out, I guess, who's getting the best rates and what it
What,
looks like.
how are you monitoring your credit? Credit Karma?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna be 100% honest with you. Credit Karma is it's a nice monitoring system. It's not actually 100% accurate. So what you're seeing on Credit Karma, it could be a little bit high, it could be a little bit low. So what I want to do today is get you with 3 of my preferred lenders and give you their contact information. And I'm also going to let them know that you'll be calling and sit down and have a conversation with them. And it can just be over the phone, just 10, 15 minutes, get to know them, because what you're about to do, can't get it out of my mouth, is the biggest financial decision of your entire life, right? And you need to be 100% secure and comfortable with the lender, because they're gonna be digging into your financials. And you just need to be able to have that conversation with them, an honest, open conversation with them. And if you're not comfortable with them, then it's not gonna be a good fit. So I'm gonna give you three names of lenders, and I want you to call them and have a conversation and pick which one is the best fit for you. I think I already know, but I want you to pick which lender is the best for you, okay? So once we get you pre-approved, then we're gonna be ready to go. Pre-approval can take 24 to 48 hours after you have a conversation with the lender. And we'll get that pre-approval letter, and a lot of them will send it to me, but I will ask you to send it to me if I haven't received it yet. So once you get that pre-approval letter, we'll start looking at houses, okay?
Okay, that sounds good.
So now, the reason why I did that is because I'm putting it back on him. He has not been pre-approved. You have not been pre-approved either, like in our conversation, but now it's back on you. And it's testing how motivated you are.
Right.
If you do not, if I follow up with you in 24 hours and say, oh, I haven't had a chance to call the lender, okay, you're maybe not as motivated as you said you were.
Right.
Fear, whatever. So then I'll say, and a lot of time, and I'll check with my lenders. Hey, Victoria, call you? No, not yet. Okay. Then I'll be like, hey, have you had a chance to visit with Mr. Lender at XYZ? Oh, no, not yet. My appointments last night ran late, whatever. So, okay, great. Well, they're expecting your call tomorrow. And just as a reminder, when you call, if they don't pick up, it's probably because they're on another phone call. You need to leave them a message. They will not know to call you back. It'll just look like a spam call because they don't have your number plugged into their phone. Right. So leave them a message. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a message, then get off the phone and shoot them a text message. Hey, it's me. I'm calling about, so-and-so gave me your name and phone number to talk to you about a home mortgage. Call me when you have a minute. Something like that. I literally tell them what to say and what to do and how to handle the situation, because what I'm finding, especially with the kids these days, they're not go-getters. They just, oh, well, they didn't answer. They didn't answer. They didn't answer. Did you leave a message? No, we don't leave a message. Why would we leave a message? Because this is business. This is not, hey, let's go meet up for happy hour. This is a business deal transaction like the doctor's office. Right? Okay. So that all plays into their motivation. And if somebody says, yeah, I really want to buy a house and I'm not pre-approved and I don't know if I can get qualified, their hesitation is because of fear. They're afraid to look at their credit report. They're afraid to see what they have been failing on. And it's so easy to bring it down a notch and just say, listen, you're right. We don't know if you can buy a house. And you're not going to know unless you visit with a lender and have them look at your credit and see what's going on there. So I know it may sound really scary and it makes you have little heart palpitations when you think about this. That's okay. Just know that information is power. And once you have that information, now we know which direction to proceed. And if they say, you're not, you can't get qualified until these 2 or 3 items are cleared up off your credit report. They're gonna tell you how to clear it up, and it could be in 30 to 60 days that you're ready. Don't give up. Let's just keep going. And if they will literally take the steps to clear up those items on their credit report, they are going to be your best buyers. You just have to work with them because it's scary. Finances are not taught in our schools at all. I mean, like my kids have had a personal finance class, but it's a scary and it's unknown because there's no education around it.
So if you go into a lender, can they tell you like where to, like, these are the things that are hurting you and
Yes.
need to take care of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll have to do a full credit report on you, but yes.
And then they'll be able to give you that advice.
Mhm. I literally had some kids that had 0 credit scores. They didn't even have a credit score. It's like no credit score. So the lender was like, look, you need to go get like a Kohl's card and charge $100 on it and pay that 30% off. Pay it off to 30%, like pay $70. And then the next month, charge and then pay it down to 30%. So you're building that credit, right? It's one way to prepare or build credit. There's many ways to do it, but that's one way to do it. So now you're getting buy-in from them, right? So now you're testing their motivation by asking for buy-in and sending them to a lender is asking for buy-in. So, set an appointment, date and time as soon as possible. That's for like a consultation or a strategy session. Let's see, 7 close to appointment tactics. These are defined. They are not defined. Let me find it in here. Okay, show the benefits. People are more likely to go along with something you suggest if you explain the benefit to them. Just like with getting pre-approved. I know you're worried that there might be something on your credit, but you're not gonna know unless you do the work to find out what's on there. And the benefit is once you know, now we can deal with it. And there may not be anything on there. You don't know. So let's look and see, okay? Take back, close. This technique puts a tempting offer in front of the buyer, then suddenly creates a fear that they may not be able to get it. I do this a lot of times, especially right now with needing to have buyer representations in place before showing a house. So especially on not met leads, like or internet leads, online leads. If I don't know them, what I'll do is I say, hey, listen, we've had to change our real estate laws. And so when we get to the house, before we can go in the house, I'm gonna go over our buyer representation agreement with you. We have to have this in place for me to literally unlock the door. And I know it's a big step. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it available or active for 24 hours. So I can show you this house. And so we can get to know each other during the showing and decide if we're gonna choose to work with one another.
You're gonna show them a house before having a buyer's appointment?
No. Yeah, on internet leads, yeah, because I'll do it, because I've been doing it long enough, I can do that. It's like here, right? It's in my head, so I'll get in front of them, get in the house, or get in front of them, have them sign it, get in the house, and then do my buyer's appointment in front of that, in the.
My last buyer was a referral and she called me and wanted to go look at houses that night. So I met her in front of the house and we signed it and went inside.
Now, how I handle it is like this last one, I said, I said, Mr. Buyer, I said, I've really enjoyed getting to know you today at the showing. I said, I think we're a good fit. I know I want to work with you. I would hope that you would want to work with me. And he says, yeah, he's like, I like you. Let's work together. Great. So next step is I want you to start thinking about what you're really looking for in a house. And have you been pre-approved? No, great. I'm going to send you some lenders and then we're going to come back together. And once we know how much you can afford, then we're going to come back together and nail down what you're looking for in a house. So a lot of times they aren't even pre-approved. So, and then take back what we're going to decide if we're going to work together. People don't like that. That makes you more of a, they want you more because like, well, why wouldn't I want to work with you? Why wouldn't you want to work with me? May not be a good fit. And there are some that are not good fits. You're describing a couple.
and yeah, I'm really wanting to put that up front, all the way. I mean, I have several internet leads coming in, and my biggest thing is sitting down with them to find out exactly what they want, so we're not wasting each other's time. Asking them the right questions. How long have you been looking at this house? What about this house is really attractive to you? Have you been pre-approved? Great. Well, if you haven't done these things, I'd love to sit down, get to know each other, find out if we're a good fit for each other, understand what the next steps are.
Yeah.
And that way you're an educated buyer and I understand what your needs are and I can do the best thing possible for you, what you're looking for. So one of the things that they were talking yesterday, Drew, Pete,
Baby.
Bait,
Mhm.
amazing. Started talking about the 4 quadrants of motivation, dissatisfaction, future promise, and the relationships of everybody that's going to be in the household who's coming up. And it really put everything like at ease to help them understand, oh, I haven't even thought about that, and put it all on paper so they can actually see it. Where you're determining what prompted you to start looking for a home, what you don't like about your house, what you're looking to improve about your house, and the relationships with those with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And
that
you
was
can do
huge.
that.
That was huge.
Yeah, you can do that. And there's times I do that. I will sit down and do that. Or there are times like when you have to go back and you have to redo the buyer consultation or the strategy session again. And because what they've told you in the first strategy session is not matching with what is happening.
Right.
So let's revisit that. And I do, oh, here we go again. So I do strategy sessions.
Yeah.
A lot of times I just don't do it here.
Yeah, use that little office up there, bring up the MLS. So if there's something they want to talk about, or if there are houses that we're looking at, that we're gonna kind of write some of these houses down and do some, do a CMA on it, and just kind of understand what it's worth. But that was super impactful.
3 is negative positive close, and the example is, would you be offended if I asked if we could meet to go over all this in a little more detail? I'm free tomorrow. What time works for you? It's a way to back into the appointment. 4 is give them what they are looking for quickly, pique the buyer's interest by giving them what they are looking for, information on interesting comparable properties. So yes, let's meet at my office and I can give you the specific details about that property and let you know about similar properties also for sale. And then 5 is a trial close. You should find out whether you and the client genuinely agree. Can you see how receiving a list of all the new homes on the market in your price range would help you in your home search? Then the assumptive close, it sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week. So what works best for you? I use that a lot as well. And tie downs. We'll save hours on your home search if we meet in the office first. Saving time is important to you, isn't it? Great, let's meet. Then, objections. When a buyer objects to meeting with you, what are your first thoughts? Rejection, definitely no, or they're being unreasonable. And no, they aren't rejecting you. You haven't answered a question. They have a question that you haven't answered. And so literally I have said, so it sounds like you're still unsure about meeting, and maybe there's a question in your mind that I haven't answered yet. What would that be? And sometimes they'll say, oh no, it's not, there's no question. I just my husband's out of town and I can't meet tomorrow, or my wife is out of town and she won't be back till next week. Okay, that's fine. I have time next week. What time next week works for you all? And so it's nailing down what the objection is. It's not you. There's something else going on generally, 9 times out of 10. So you can, when a buyer objections, ask questions, empathize, identify the real issue. That's the objection is the real issue, and then offer a solution, which I just did. Okay, that's fine. Your spouse is out of town. Let's just meet next week. I have time next week, and then urge an agreement, ask again for the appointment. And then, my nose is itching, you guys, I'm sorry. And then which one of the Y4C2 T's, E and S apply here? It's communication, seek first to understand. Trust starts with honesty. So, when people sometimes they're ashamed and they don't want to tell you that they're getting ready to go into foreclosure and they need to have a listing appointment, or, they need to buy a smaller house because they're going through a divorce, or, whatever is happening, they're ashamed. And shame and guilt play a big role in what people will and will not communicate. And if you can be great, have grace and mercy and minimize, and I don't want to say minimize by not making it important, but by minimizing that gap between the what's really going on and the panic of what they built up in their head. If you can minimize that gap and make it small and be real and authentic with them, then the communication will happen. And it does take some practice, but you guys can get there. I mean, you just know, I know by looking at people's body language that what's happening. Like if they're shut down, especially, and it's not the chatty, if it's a couple and their spouse, there's usually gonna be one that's doing this, and then there's gonna be one that's doing this, right? And they're like this. Don't pay attention to the chatty one. But that's not who the decision maker is. It's this one over here. And this one over here has questions or is dealing with something that you need to get to the bottom. So I usually just look, because I'm a high I and a high D, I'll lower my tone of voice, I'll start to speak slower, and I look at them in the eye. And then they will respond, because now they feel like they're being heard. If they continue to, like, this is for your guy, right? If a buyer continues to object to a meeting after you've addressed their concerns and offered solutions, continue to cultivate the relationship and provide value, just as you would with any other lead or contact in your database. Just don't give them a lot of extra energy, but just cultivate it. They'll come back. Promise. I actually had buyers one time. They were, I'm trying to think of how this happened. Help them buy a house. And then they sold that house and bought another house with another agent on the advice of the dad, of his dad. And then they hated those agents. So then they call me back and they're like, we just want to use you again. So I helped them sell that house and buy another house. They always come back as long as you stay in contact with them and you make them feel important. Everybody wants to be heard and made to feel important. And everybody is important. And if you don't believe that, then you're in the wrong business, in my opinion. But everybody's important. Everybody has what people say is important. Practice responding to objections is one of the best way to demonstrate your expertise and win business. So I don't know if you guys have role play partners, but find one to practice the objections. Common buyer objections. Buyer chooses to look on their own. A lot of times they think that they're wasting your time, and I tell them, you're not wasting my time. If this house isn't a fit for you, it may be a fit for one of my other buyers. So it's never a waste of my time to show a property. Oh, okay. You know, you see it just that you see them just deflate because they're not like negatively deflate, but
Yeah, it just
relax.
takes the focus off them.
Right, take the focus off them. Buyer relies on searching online. And this is one that I struggle with sometimes because buyers, when they search online, they will literally discount homes that do not have good pictures. And I'm like, listen, even if their pictures aren't great, we still, and it's anywhere near that checks the boxes, we need to go look at it. But just because the pictures aren't great doesn't mean it's a bad house. And so more times I will get them into the house with the bad pictures and it's the one for them. But they had written it off because the pictures online were bad. So push it. Or if you see it online and you know they've rejected it, go preview it. And then come back to them and say, I've been in the house. I think it's one that you need to see. Right?
Yeah.
I've been in it. Don't tell me you went to preview it for them. Say I've been in the house. They don't need to know why you were in the house. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, any ahas from that?
I'll have to go.
Yeah, I know. We're almost done. I've got to be done anyway. Basically, to get assigned buyer's agreement, first you make the appointment. So all this comes back to getting an appointment. Get the appointment. Whether it's meeting them at the house or you meeting them here first, get the appointment. That first house, 9 times out of 10 isn't the right house for them. But now you've got them, you've had a chance to meet them. You've got them on a buyer's representation. You've decided if you want to work with them or not. And if they want to work with you, and then you can write a new buyer's agreement, and then you can have the buyer's consultation.
Yeah.
Or have the buyer's consultation and or strategy session. And now you've got to know them, you've determined their motivation and whether they want to, if you want to work with them or not. So either which way, just do it. Just do it. Just get the appointment. And then go from there. This talks about virtual. I don't suggest virtual. Here's the 10 service areas. This is a good one. Needs analysis, pre-qualification, neighborhood information, home search, make an offer, negotiating to buy, vendor coordination, pre-close preparation. Do you have any questions about any of those sections?
I really like it when we get to step 8 and I don't have to worry about any.
Pre-close preparation.
Yeah.
I'd like to, I mean, at some point, I'm gonna need some help with negotiating and understanding all the different things, because that's, I think, one of the biggest qualities that I can really bring to the table is helping them make sure, I mean, this listing agent obviously is trying to make sure that the client is getting the most for their house, but as a buyer's agent, making sure they're getting what the market value, market is actually trending and determines the value of that house, making sure I'm able to understand that. And I've been practicing CMAs. I think I got it pretty good roundabout, but RPR makes it a lot easier, just to confirm where, make sure you're not too far off in the left field. I think that's really important too, and it's a very good starting topic, especially if you haven't seen a home, to be able to send that off to somebody and say, hey, this is what your neighborhood's cooking. I'd love to discuss and see your house further until I've actually seen it. I mean, it's really hard to do a CMA based on pictures of what it looked like 5 years ago. You know, I'd like to see the house, see what improvements you've done, and see what I need to do that makes it comparable with other houses that have sold in the last 3 to 6 months.
Okay, hold on. Here's buyer guide on slide, or on, I don't know what page it is, but you have buyer guide contents. You guys can put a whole buyer guide together, or you can go in Command and create one. They're done for you. Use the ones in Command. I would just do the ones in Command. It's so much easier and it's all compliant. Oh, see, Command. There it is. It's in Command. Table of contents, and it's so pretty. It talks about the home buying process. Home loans, this part is optional. You can take this out if you want. And replace it with, if you wanted to, a list of your preferred providers at the end. Just do a preferred vendor list at the end that are the people you like to work with. And that you have good relationships with. This is where you drop your value proposition in. Right here. We created that in the first section of Ignite. If you don't have numbers, use office numbers. Because we're a team, the whole office is a team, use the office numbers. And if you need help pulling those, I'm sure that productivity coach or somebody in the staff, on the staff will help you pull those numbers. You covered conducting the buyer consultation. Just get in there and do it and just keep asking questions until they can't answer. Like, why are 3 bedrooms important? Just keep going. And sometimes they say, well, we might need more. No, just keep going. You know, that's an easy one. I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. This is a great affirmation. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they buy a home. It's a great affirmation. You know what you're doing. Just trust yourself. Don't get in basically analysis paralysis where you just have to continue to feel like you have to nail it. You're not going to nail it. Wish lists, filling out a needs analysis. This is where you listen much more than you talk. These questions are set out in the buyer presentation in Command and in your participant guide. Go over the questions with them. Who will be living in the home? Let's talk about that. You know, is there going to be somebody that's handicapped? Just keep going with the questions. I mean, the first one is to begin. who will be living in this home? Let's list adults, children, and pets that will inhabit the space. And I mean, I would even ask, you know, is there anybody living in the home that has a special need, that's handicapped, or you need, you know, something like that? And they'll tell you. And they may look at you funny, well, you know, I just need to ask, because if I don't ask, I'll never know. I don't want to assume anything. You know, the second question is, what are the non-negotiables for your home? Non-negotiables, well, we have 2 big dogs, we have to have a fence. Fence is non-negotiable. What if we found a house that checked all the boxes for you and it did not have a fence? Would it be a no, or would you consider putting a fence in? You know, love letters, I wouldn't do it. Don't do it. Don't do a love letter. It can be a liability letter. And just on your employment agreement, just mark no, and then put it in the agent remarks, no love letters. Okay. Getting the buyer agreement signed. We talked about this, just get it, we have to have it signed. And you know what it does? It actually takes away the anxiety. I have found that just getting it signed up front, this is what it is, this is what it says, this is the compensation. And yes, it says here on this line that you're responsible for the compensation. And it says down here in this paragraph that we're going to ask the sellers or the seller's agent or broker to pay the compensation. And I'm very upfront with them, and I talk about it being negotiable. This is negotiable. Now, this is where I charge. This is what I charge. 24 bananas is what I charge. I want 24 bananas, you know, but and just tell them this is negotiable. But what I found for me is that 24 bananas is what I charge. That's what works best for me. And I will prove to you why I'm worth 24 bananas. So, okay, training. Eval. If you want to do that, hope you guys can be good.
2 thumbs up.
Wrapping up, you can offer them your KW app. I don't do that. I feel like that we are so app inundated with apps these days that unless somebody asks for it, I don't give it to them.
You look at how technologically friendly these younger kids are and stuff like that, they might be more apt
Right.
to do something like
Yep.
that.
Questions, ahas? Did that help? Did it help? Do it. If you ever want to sit in on a buyer's consultation with me, you can.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's something when we have another one.
Well, let me know. Maybe I'll be available.
Yeah. Are you, do you guys do open house? Do you do open house?
I don't think I'm gonna do it.
Why?
They bring me the least amount of joy because I feel like a salesperson at the mall. And like this last one I did, like, I don't know, people were almost like rude.
Are you Shrek?